This is a 2023 Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet GTS America Edition. It's one of 115, and along with sound deadening within the doors, I'll be cleaning up adhesive from a previous installation and retinting these windows all the way around. So I don't own a plotter, I do everything by hand. The same way I've done it for 26 years at this point. And the thing about hand cutting is if you do it right, you can get super tight edges, top and sides, nice coverage at the bottoms and vertical seals, and just an overall much better fit and finish than you can with a plotter. So you'll see me do a lot of things differently than most, but this is the way I've found success in this industry. For starters, what I've done is I've positioned my window film on the board, one with the film side facing me, with a liner that direction, and one the opposite way with the film side against the other film, liner back at me. So we're going to be cutting two perfectly mirrored pieces of film. And we'll get started. I've already cleaned off this glass and I missed, trying to not drench the car, obviously. Now this does have full paint protection, so it's okay to do this. Going to position a little bit below the seal because I have the luxury of having the door panels off, again for my sound deadening process. And I think that's about where I want this. Okay, I like to cut this section off. Makes everything go a little bit more smoothly. I'm never touching the blade to the vehicle, except for on the glass when I glide for the top and rear edge. What I'm going to do instead is use a Sharpie, and I'm going to mark where the actual visible seal is, just as a reference point for my oversizing. Since in this case I have the seal out and I'm going to have more flexibility here, I'll probably opt to do a little bit further coverage than usual. We might take it in about a 1/4 inch, something like that. This is fine. This is fine. I don't need quite so much back here, so I'll put a little mark there. The one thing about frameless doors, of course, we've got this edge and this edge. Depending on how much of a bevel there is or rounding there is here, we're going to fine tune how this cut relates to this cut. In almost all cases, I'm going to cut the back edge, position this film forward, and then cut the top edge. And what that's going to do is undersize in both directions, because if you can imagine the cut being exactly flush with this, it would be too big. With Porsche glass, since there's not a whole lot of rounding here, I'm only going to bring it in a little bit. With GM glass, like on a Corvette, where there's more of a rounding here, I'm going to position this back edge a little bit further in prior to doing my cut here, so that once the film is aligned inside, it meets up consistently all the way around. So what I'm going to do for starters is press this out just to get a nice flat resting position against the back edge. Blade out. Nice cut. not too much pressure so I'm not scoring into the film past the liner. We're going to mist. And this is what I mean. It's hard to explain how I know. I suppose you could just say from experience, but that's about where I want it. I have that film positioned roughly 1/32 or a little less from the very edge of the flat area of the glass. And I'm also going to make sure that it's consistent all the way down, which it is now. And of course, in doing this, I'm making sure that my two pieces of film are staying really well stuck together, which usually isn't a challenge because film, as you may know, sticks to other film quite well due to the surface structure and static electricity. So it won't slide around much at all if you've got it pressed out and free of moisture. I'm going to fine tune this a little bit better so my top edge is ready to cut. That's looking good. Obviously this panel is not shrunk. So what I have to do is simulate this film being in its final position once it is shrunk, which I'll be doing afterwards once I separate these two pieces. I'm just gently pressing it out. Just like that. Now this is where everything really counts. I'm going to make sure that we have a nice, perfectly new blade. Start our cut, watching not to cut that rubber seal. Right on the top of the glass. Even pressure. Consistent. And finish. Obviously this is too much of a point, so I'll be rounding that. I kind of look at it and assess, okay, how much rounding, and I'll do that on my board. Also, there's a little bit of a rounding just very slightly here that I'll do. Okay. Going to blot and wipe this down so we don't get runs on the body. Not that it matters a whole lot because again this is covered in paint protection film all the way over. Gonna get rid of these ultra tiny jagged areas. Just like that. there's our actual seal. This is about where we want to go. And don't forget to add a little bit right there. Now we're going to give this a nice broad round. That's just insurance against peeling over time due to the tightness of these seals. And same here, I need to taper this. And now we have our cut exactly like we want it to fit in that door window on the front edge. Same thing here. I'm going to continue our rear cut, and this just started to slide a little bit, so I'll fix that. We don't want to see any jagged lines or edges. Should look just like it came from the factory, even though there's no such thing. Nice straight line. We're going to add a broad contour here, and then dip in a little. Still going to be overlapping the seal by roughly 3/8 to 1/2 inch. If I didn't have the door panels and seals apart, I would cut a little bit more conservatively, maybe just a 1/16 to 1/8 overlap. But oftentimes I don't just do tinting on these vehicles. I'm doing multiple things, like in this case, sound deadening, among other electronics. So, nice, tight rounding here. But still very complementary to the actual glass. Okay, and now this is ready to shrink. And now we're going to shrink. On very, very curved windows, I will tend to dry shrink with a dryer sheet, but this one, it's not so bad. Definitely has to be shrunk though for a proper fitment. So now I'm just going to press out this top section and find where we have to shrink. You always want to have the glass clean, because if there's a piece of grit, it will absolutely scratch your film. And in everything I do, I'm absolutely chasing the impossible, which is perfection. Okay. Moving fingers around. It's just better that way. Notice I'm keeping the heat away from this seal. It's several $100s, I'm sure. this is ready to install. Okay, so this window is complete. I didn't take a video of my installation process only because it's a little different than you'll encounter most of the time on this car. I do have the door panel and the window seal apart because I will be adding the sound deadening next. But as you see, we've got full coverage past the seal, down below, all the way across, back edge, super tight. I'm trying to zoom in. Okay. Very close. About a 64th or less. And the aim is to be as consistent as possible. No debris, or scratches, or creases. Again, kind of hard to capture on a camera, but easy to see up close in person, especially with LED lighting, which shows everything. So that's it.